The final buzzer of the 2025 WNBA Finals was not merely a sound but a tectonic release, a wave of pure sonic energy that washed over the sold-out Mohegan Sun Arena, erasing 6 months of pent-up tension, hope, and accumulated exhaustion in a single, cathartic moment. On the court, a volcano of emotion erupted. Young stars, their faces still soft with the bloom of youth, leaped into each other's arms, tears of joy streaming down cheeks not yet etched with the deep lines of professional longevity. Veterans, their bodies living archives of 1,000 battles, sank to their knees, overcome by the gravitational weight of a dream finally, blessedly, realized. And then there was DeWanna Bonner. She did not leap. She did not sink. She simply stood at the center circle, her 6'4" frame a pillar of profound, almost unnerving, stillness amidst the swirling chaos. Her head was tilted back, eyes closed, chest rising and falling in deep, measured breaths as if she were drawing in the very essence of the moment. The championship confetti, a blizzard of navy and white, began to fall, catching in the intricate patterns of her braids, dusting the shoulders of her jersey like the first snow of a long-awaited winter. One hand rested on her hip, the other held the game ball, her long fingers splayed across the pebbled leather as if absorbing its final, fading warmth, the last pulse of the season. At 37 years old, having just completed a season for the ages, a season that defied the cold logic of aging, rewrote the stubborn narratives of a career, and cemented a legacy in a way her 2 previous championships had not, she was the calm at the epicenter of the storm she herself had summoned. To understand the full, breathtaking magnitude of the 2025 season, to truly grasp why the words best of 2025, DeWanna Bonner, carry the specific, resonant weight they do, one must first journey down the road that led to that confetti-strewn court. It was a road not of a straight, ascending line toward greatness, but of a winding, often treacherous path of relentless adaptation, profound resilience, and a quiet, burning refusal to be defined by anything other than her own indomitable will. The story begins, as all great stories do, with a promise. DeWanna Bonner entered the WNBA in 2009 as the 5th overall pick by the Phoenix Mercury, a raw, spectacular collection of limbs and kinetic energy dubbed a spork for her unique, seemingly disjointed elegance. She was a whirlwind, a force of nature off the bench, a player who feasted on the chaos created by the established superstars Diana Taurasi and Penny Taylor. She didn't need plays called for her. She was the play, an offensive rebounding savant, a nightmare in transition, a player whose goofy, infectious joy belied a voracious competitive appetite. She won 2 championships in those early years, in 2009 and 2014, etching her name into the league's consciousness as the premier 6th woman, a weapon of mass disruption. But even then, there were glimpses of a more complete future, a burgeoning post-game, a 3-point shot that was slowly morphing from a hopeful novelty into a reliable weapon, the subtle signs of a sponge soaking in the killer instincts of Taurasi, and the cerebral grace of Taylor from the sidelines of a dynasty. But the life of a professional athlete is a narrative of constant flux, and as the core in Phoenix aged and roles inevitably shifted, Bonner evolved from a spark plug into a primary option, putting up staggering, all-star numbers that nonetheless were accompanied by the creeping narrative that she was a stat sheet stuffer, a volume scorer on good but not great teams, the unspoken question lingering like a ghost in the arena. Could she be the alpha, the central sun around which a championship team orbited? The answer, it seemed, was to be found elsewhere. And in 2020, in the surreal isolation of the WNBA's wobble in Bradenton, Florida, a season played under the dual duress of a global pandemic and national racial reckoning, Bonner, now a mother of twin girls, made the seismic decision to leave the only professional home she had ever known, signing as a free agent with the Connecticut Sun. It was a test of ethos. Phoenix was flash, pace, and space, while Connecticut was grit, grind, and unapologetic physicality. Could her finesse game survive in the meat grinder of the Eastern Conference? The Connecticut years became her crucible. She arrived as the marquee signing, the heir apparent to a traded legend, the pressure a tangible weight. She delivered individually, continuing her march toward the record books as a walking double-double, but the playoffs brought a new, harsh reality. The Sun were perennial contenders, always in the mix, but they kept running into a wall. The Aces, the Storm, the Sky. And with each postseason exit, the narrative hardened. The critiques grew louder. Can't win the big one, not clutch enough. The low point, the moment of fracture that either forges or breaks, came in the 2022 playoffs. A grueling series, a critical Game 4, the clock bleeding its final seconds in a tied game. The ball found Bonner in her spot, the moment she was brought to Connecticut for. She rose, the arena held its breath, and the shot, a clean look she had made 1,000 times, clanged off the back iron. The Sun lost in overtime, and the ensuing offseason was haunted by the sound of that failure, the echo of that iron a constant companion. This was the forging. This was the moment she decided she would not be broken. The summer of 2023 marked a subtle but significant recalibration. Bonner was now 35, a veteran in a league getting younger, faster, and more athletic by the day. To survive, let alone thrive, she had to evolve, yet again. She spent that offseason in a state of meticulous reconstruction, working with a shooting coach not just on repetition, but on biomechanics, increasing the arc and consistency of her three-pointer until it was a fluid, in-rhythm weapon, not a set shot. She became a student of the game's elders, studying how legends like Tim Duncan and Sue Bird use positioning and IQ to compensate for a half-step lost, how they conserved energy for the moments that truly mattered. Most importantly, she embraced a new, quieter leadership role. With Alyssa Thomas emerging as the team's undeniable, ferocious heart and soul, Bonner no longer had to be the vocal leader. She could be the steady, veteran presence, the mentor to wide-eyed rookies, the calm to Thomas's storm. The 2024 season was a preview, a glimpse of the masterpiece to come. The Sun, built on a foundation of defensive brutality and relentless rebounding, made a deep playoff run, and while Bonner's numbers were solid, the change was visible to those who looked closely. Smarter shots, savvier defense, a player no longer trying to out-athlete anyone, but beginning to systematically outthink them. They fell short in the finals, but the loss felt different. It was not a failure of will, but a loss to a slightly better team. And in its wake was a quiet, steely resolve in Bonner's post-game press conference, a simple declaration. We're close. We know what we have to do. We'll be back. Few outside the Connecticut locker room believed her. She was 36. The window, according to all conventional basketball wisdom, was closing, its creaking descent the only sound they could hear. The best of DeWanna Bonner, most assumed, was already a completed collection, a highlight reel of impressive statistical seasons and noble near misses. They were, as the 2025 season would prove, monumentally wrong. The 2025 WNBA season dawned with a familiar hierarchy. Connecticut placed firmly in the second-tier contenders, but for Bonner, the offseason had been one of monastic dedication, a regimen focused on durability, flexibility, and recovery, a process of listening to her body with the focused intensity of a concert pianist tuning a grand piano. The season began not with a bang, but with a slow, consistent burn, a month of solid, respectable numbers that slowly, inexorably crescendoed into something extraordinary. By the All-Star break, the basketball world began to take notice. Bonner wasn't just playing well for her age. She was playing at an MVP level, a statistical anomaly whose three-point percentage had skyrocketed to a blistering 42%, a product of countless hours perfecting the art of the relocation, the subtle drift to the corner that broke a defense's spirit. In the post, she was a nightmare matchup, her high-release turnaround jumper now a virtually unblockable weapon. And perhaps most startlingly, she had blossomed into Connecticut's secondary facilitator, averaging a career high in assists. Her patience at the elbow a testament to her evolved basketball IQ, every number on the stat sheet now in direct, unassailable service to winning. Her impact, however, transcended the box score, radiating through the team as its elder stateswoman. She was the connective tissue, the glue that held the volatile intensity of Thomas and the quiet efficiency of Brianna Jones together, the calm voice, intense huddles, the mentor who pulled aside a tearful rookie after a defensive mistake not with scream, but with a steadying hand and a directive of simple, empowering belief. The next play is the only one that matters. Be ready. I've got your help side. The true best of 2025 argument, however, was forged in the fire of the season's final month, a brutal 10-day, 3-game series against the super team New York Liberty that served as the ultimate litmus test. In the first game, she was surgical, using her gravity to pull Brianna Stewart out to the perimeter and dissect the defense for 28 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. In the second, a grind, her defensive IQ was the difference, holding Jonquil Jones in check while posting a game-high plus-minus. The third and final matchup, an overtime thriller, provided the iconic, narrative silencing moment. With seconds left and the play broken, she pump-faked, sidestepped, and rose up from almost the identical spot as her 2022 miss, the entire arena holding its breath until the ball splashed through the net, a pure, cathartic swish that was met not with a wild celebration, but with her own knowing smirk as she backpedaled on defense, the past officially exorcised. The 2025 playoffs were her coronation tour, a systematic dismantling